So the doing after this lesson is asking you to fill in the blanks of the proof based off of the given information. So we're given that FG is congruent to HG. So the first thing I did was I marked it on my diagram. You then know that JG bisects the angle FGH. So you have two congruent angles here. So I have side, angle, and because this side is shared, I'm going to use reflexive to get that third side, that third component. So we're going to use side, angle, side to prove that these two triangles are congruent. So we start with the given information. I know that these two angles are congruent based off of my definition of a bisector. I know that JG is congruent to JG by reflexive. Therefore, my triangles are congruent based off of side, angle, side. Now, another way that we can prove that triangles are congruent is by angle, side, angle. Similar to side, angle, side, the order does matter. So here is a good example because we have the side in between the two angles. Here we can see that this does not work because we have a side and then two angles, whereas here we have an angle, side, angle. They need to be the same in order to use any theorem, but especially with angle, side, angle. So let's do an example. Given that angle Q is equal to angle S, so I right away mark that. So I have an angle. QS bisects PR. So I know that I have two congruent segments because of the definition of bisector. So I have an angle, a side, and I'm going to say that these two are congruent because they are vertical angles. Now, these two do not sandwich the congruent side, so I'm not going to use angle, side, angle. It should be angle, angle, side. So we start with our given information. Use the definition of a bisector to get our two congruent segments. State that we have vertical angles. Those angles are congruent because they are vertical. And based off of this, I have my angle, and my side. So the triangles are congruent. So this is going over angle, angle, side. Order probably should have been switched between these two. But this gives you an insight that it could be angle, side, angle, or angle, angle, side. Either one of those would work to show that triangles are congruent. Okay, so now, given that BAC is congruent to angle DCA, so we have one pair of congruent angles, given another pair of congruent angles, so we have angle, angle, and then we have a shared side. So we're going to have angle, angle, side as our method to show that these two triangles are congruent. Start with your given information. You can then say that AC is congruent to AC by reflexive. And then you're right away going to say that the triangles are congruent by angle, angle, side. Here's that symbol again, perpendicular. Perpendicular tells us that they form right angles. We know that right angles are congruent. So you know that since AB is perpendicular to BC, you know that you have a right angle here. Similarly, you'll have a right angle down here. AC bisects BCD. So you have your second angle here. And we're going to use reflexive to get our third component. So start with your given information. Then state that you have right angles by the definition of perpendicular line. You know that those angles are congruent because right angles are always congruent. Use your definition of a bisector to get your pair of congruent angles. Reflexive, AC is congruent to AC to finally get our side. because now we have angle, angle, side. So our triangles are congruent, angle, angle, side. I think the next page is your homework. So.